Good morning. Welcome. Still morning here, barely. At this rate, I'm going to have to change the title from Morning 3 to sometime during the day 3. But had some good responses from last week's video. Going to be getting into a couple of those questions, comments I had over the next couple weeks here. Busy time of year. Wanted to start today. Should I back in or nose into a parking spot? I've had this question a lot, had a lot of debates with people. Personally, my preference is to back into a spot, if at all possible, when convenient. Of course, if you're doing a big grocery haul, it's not going to be convenient probably. If you're trying to pop open the minivan door or your trunk, you probably just nose in a lot of that time. But even then, sometimes I will back in. Got a couple of reasons I've thought about. So, number one, it's safer. I might put in some graphics here, but as you're coming up, you're driving down the lane with the parking spots on either side. You see the parking spot you're looking to go into. When you see it, when you maneuver your vehicle in order to back into that spot, you've just put your eyeballs right on that spot. That's the clearest that's ever going to look. Of course, you're nosing in, that's great. But when you back out, now you have to back out into a spot that you're not going to be able to see left, right, sometimes behind you, sometimes backup cameras, you don't have one or they're just not clear. But anyway, safer to back into the spot. You've gone past it. Now you back right into what you just looked at seconds ago. Whereas if you have to pull, now when you pull straight out, of course, it's going to be pretty convenient. Another reason, less likely actually to fall victim to an insurance scam. Sometimes people will just look for, not in my area so much, thankfully. I don't know where you live in your part of the world, but you see it all the time on YouTube, different things on X. There's insurance scammers that they just look for a person that's vulnerable. When you're backing out, I would suggest you're more vulnerable than when you're nosing out of something. And it's less dangerous to back into that spot that you just put your eyeballs on, seeing if there's people around, things of that nature. So those are my thoughts on that one. Love to hear what you have to offer, or if you have a different opinion on that. I'm always looking to expand knowledge. Drop a line in the comments. Second item, am I too old to still play video games? Probably mostly for the young men, the middle-aged men. I'm 44, so we're going to answer this for everybody. The answer is no, but you need to take a stock, consider your current responsibilities. Are you married? Do you have children? If you're married, you have a spouse that probably needs more out of you than what you're currently giving. Just a wake-up call there. Almost always the circumstance. If you have children, can you ever spend enough time with your children? I don't think you can. That said, don't beat yourself up. We all do the best we can. But in that goal of doing the best we can, I think we need to set some parameters there. So considering your responsibilities, your other commitments, do you have other things that you're a part of? You need to assess how much gaming is affecting your life, how it's affecting your life. I know back in the day, I played an awful lot of World of Warcraft. Started in 2005, and I can remember at a time playing with my brother-in-law who lived in the house with me at the time. We're gaming, we're swearing, hey, we're going to finish up this dungeon we're running, and that went on who knows how long. But my wife went downstairs at the time and flipped the circuit breaker, turned it off in the middle of the game. Thankfully, we had a good enough relationship that I knew she was right, I was wrong, and don't let it get to that point. How is this affecting your life? I've had times where it was a big stress relief, nice thing to release your stresses in a video game where you're just decimating everything around you. Great. That can have a value for a time. Another useful thing for that is just going and doing your workout. Even a 15 to 30-minute workout is going to release some of that stress and probably benefit you more than a video game. That said, I'm not saying you can't play video games. I've done both. The other thing, add up how much time this is taking up in your life? Weekly, monthly, yearly? So on World of Warcraft, I'm sure a lot of other games, you can enter, you can find out how much time you've played that game. I was shocked when I looked at, you'd see, oh, I've got multiple characters. We've played this one for X number of hours, totaling up how many days, literal amounts of days over the course of a year. And you come to find out, an actual percentage of your life that year was spent in that game. Doesn't have to be a bad thing. But that leads to the next one, it's time to weigh in your findings. How does your gaming fit into your long-term plans? How is it benefiting your life? And take an honest assessment of this. This is something only you can do. Other people can tell you their opinions. You have to decide for you. Where does it fit into your priority list? Have you prioritized things? And honestly, if you start looking at things, we're all only given 24 hours in a day, and it's up to us to spend that time as wisely as we can. So, that said, once you've taken that assessment, you just have to apply that into your life. I know for me, I've had to cut a lot of gaming out. And at first you miss it. Once you filled it up with other productive things, people like to be busy. They say they don't, but we're always doing something. If you're quote unquote doing nothing, you're probably scrolling on your phone. You're doing something. We like to keep ourselves occupied. If you can occupy yourself with something that's as beneficial to your future life as possible, incrementally, you're going to get better. You're going to make better choices. So just some food for thought to think about. So here's a little more serious one. When is it the right time to start a family? On the outset, I'm just going to go ahead and say it is never going to be the perfect time. So if you're waiting for perfect, it's just never going to happen, especially if you're an analytical thinker. You like to quantify everything. It's just never going to be the ideal perfect time. But there are better times than others. So ideally, number one, when you have found your forever person and you are in a married relationship with that individual, a committed married relationship, that is going to be by far your number one requirement. The statistics, I could look these all up, but it's astronomically better. Children raised in two-parent homes are astronomically more successful, more well-rounded. There's, of course, caveats and anecdotal experiences to everything, but playing the statistics, a two-parent home is always going to be better than a one-parent home. If you're a one-parent home now, don't worry. We address everything as where we are, but we're talking ideals here. So, number two, when you have a stable living situation, I put that number two because you're going to need a stable place for children to be raised. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have a home that you own, rental, just a place. Even if you're staying with someone, it's a stable place where you're welcome, where in the near future, you're not expecting, you don't know if you're going to be there in 3 months or what you're going to do. That might not be the ideal time. But going hand in hand with that, when you have a stable income, children will both cost you more, way more, and then other times less than you would think. I tend to over average on those estimates, so sometimes they cost less, but there's an unbelievable amount of things that come up that we just want to do the best, be the best for our family and our children. So those things cost money. Things to think about, but having a stable income, not doesn't have to be ideal, but reasonable. Are you paying your bills? Do you have a financial plan for the future? Then you've checked that box. And then when you and your spouse have talked about those family goals, dream with your spouse. Take that time. Go to dinner. Go take a picnic. It doesn't have to cost you money. Go out and talk with your spouse about what those family plans are. Dream about what could be and what you'd like to do with children, that type of thing. There's also a side note of sometimes people decide, well, now's when I want to have kids, and our bodies aren't agreeing with us. They're not allowing us to have children. There are many different organizations that work with handling adoption, which I highly recommend. My wife and I did foster care for about 7 years. We love that. That comes with its own stresses, joys, blessings, so many things. Probably do a whole video just on that, but there's ways to adopt through foster care. There are many children out there that need a good home. And if you're even considering that type of thing, odds are you're probably well down the road of already being a good home. So I encourage you to look into that. And then, of course, surprise babies. Whatever your situation was, maybe you have a child or are having a child and you didn't expect it. I would just encourage you, if you're still having that child, to have that child. If you don't feel that you'll be able to provide the best home for that child, again, there are adoption agencies, things that can help you along with that. I just want to encourage that every life is 100% unique, has never existed before, and it will never exist again. That genetic makeup has never been and never will be. They're uniquely and infinitely valuable. And there are more people today that are on an adoption waiting list than there are babies being aborted in this country. That tells you there are families that will take care of this. And I personally am a family that will put my dollars where my mouth is, and we have. So the options are out there. We just want to encourage that. I want to encourage that. So when is the right time to start a family? When you've really thought about it, you've checked some of these boxes, but after that, you've got a loving partner, again, to go with. Jump down that road. My wife and I was 20 years old when I got married, and, we waited 9 months before we got pregnant. And so 18 months after that, we had our first of 3, and I don't regret that for a second. Was our finances perfect? No. We were renting when we got pregnant with our first, but we made plans. And right before our first was born, we got into our first house. When he was born, we're actually still ripping up the indoor AstroTurf. I swear that's what was in that house. Putting in new carpet. What a mess. Anyway, you do the best you can. So just want to encourage you with that. A little shorter today, but be putting out a video later this week about Thanksgiving, about being thankful, about how we can look at that, what a blessing we can be to those around us, even when we don't think there's things we have to be thankful for. We can encourage each other. So as I mentioned before, drop a line in the comments if you have a question, a topic, something that we can look at together through the comments. How can we look at some different topics in our life and apply wisdom to them? How can we think and apply wisdom? Our life would be better. So pray you have a great week. Blessings to you and your family. We'll catch you next time.